Well, hello YouTube. I wanted to take a minute and officially tell the story of what happened in the old house in Randallstown when my husband and family and I lived there. Because it was pretty creepy, and it's not very often that you get other people in that witness the same thing that you do. So it was really nice to have the validation, and so this is the story that I'm going to start with, because you can ask Anthony. This really happened. One night, we were trying to go to sleep, and we slept in the far back bedroom in this little cottage. And it was a dark and damp and creepy room, but it wasn't too bad. So I kept on being bothered by lights in the middle of the night, which turned out to be my touch light that randomly would come on and off for no good reason. And I just couldn't get to sleep. And I kept lying there, and I kept lying there, and I was just waiting for it to happen again because I wanted to see it with my eyes open. And there's a tradition over here, there's a common belief that if you hear a tapping in the walls, that it means that there's a foreshadowing of death, in the air. And it means that somebody around you is going to die. It could be somebody you love, it could be somebody down the road, it could be somebody in your family, but more often than not, it's supposed to mean somebody in your family is going to die.
I'm gonna show them something.
No, not right now. And that night, anyhow, while I was lying there, I realized that I could hear this quiet tapping sound. And it was so rhythmic. It sounded almost like, when you have a washing machine on, and it's kind of knocking against the wall it stands next to, kind of rhythmically. It was just a tap, 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 tap. And so I figured it had to be mechanical. So I listened, and I listened, and I just kept thinking, well, there's nothing on. What on earth could that be? So I nudged Anthony and I said, Anthony, what's that noise? Can you hear it too? And he said, yes, but I don't care. I'm going to sleep. Stop bothering me. So I kept trying to go to sleep, but this noise persisted. It got louder. It became more frequent. Like the repetition was coming at smaller intervals, and it was going tap, 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 tap. And I just couldn't get to sleep now, because now it was changing. And then I nudged Anthony again. I'm like, Anthony, can we just at least figure out what it is? Maybe you've got a cell phone somewhere plugged in that's vibrating or something. There's some strange tapping noise. And he goes, I can hear it too, but I don't care. I'm going to sleep. Leave me alone. And he was so irritated with me. So the noise became louder, and the taps became more insistent. And it was just like a quiet drum kind of a noise. And it was becoming more and more difficult to ignore. And I'm like, Anthony, let's just please figure out where it's coming from, because I can't sleep now at all. And I sat up in bed, and he agreed that he was going to help me to find where it was coming from. So we put our ear against the walls where it seemed to be coming from, and it wasn't coming from the wall behind the bed. And then I realized the sound wasn't coming from the wall behind the bed. The sound was coming from the wall behind the dresser. And when we moved the dresser away from the wall so we could hear it properly, we realized that the sound was actually coming from this chest of drawers. It was a regular, standard, cheap old chest of drawers, and it sat next to the bed. So at this point, Anthony's getting really irritated with me, and he says that he's going to figure it out because he can't get to sleep now. So he tears, like he pulls all the drawers out, and the noise is still continuing. There's nothing in it, it's just a set of drawers. And the noise is getting louder and faster to the point that it's now going so fast it almost sounds like a growl or a low roar. It's like, and it was more than just mechanical and rhythmic sounding. It was like guttural. It sounded vocal. It sounded like something was using the chest of drawers like a voice box. I can't explain it any other way. And he eventually just was getting so irritated with the whole situation because he refuses to acknowledge the paranormal at all. Got so irritated with the situation that he tore the back off of the dresser, and it gave one last grrr, like this big growl sound, and then it stopped. And I'm like, Anthony, what was that? We never figured it out. And his response basically was that he didn't care what it was. He didn't want to know if it was paranormal, if it wasn't paranormal. It was the last thing he wanted to know about. But the dresser definitely growled at us, and I have no other way to put it. It growled, and I'm so glad that we don't live there anymore. So I'd love to hear other people's strange paranormal stories, and just to validate that these things happen, and there's no explanation for them, and we generally just kind of put them in the back of our mind somewhere because they're not explainable and they're not important, and you really don't want to think about them, but they do happen. So I'd love to hear somebody else make a video response and tell me one of the weird experiences they've had. That's definitely one of the creepier ones that we've had in our family. So peace, and I look forward to hearing from you.